Hey everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful week. This is your last call for insight, and today we are actually going to have a slightly spicy conversation here. And I actually want to change the title to today's stream if you just give me one moment. Millionaire John Cena dumps girlfriend for wife who's on his program. And I know that's quite a controversial topic, but we're just going to take a look at the facts, and depending upon what you get out of this, then you can leave a comment down in the comment section. In general, I try to stay very neutral when it comes to these things, but I think in order to have a honest conversation, we definitely need to really take in all the information and then move forward as we go. So John Cena is a well-known wrestler slash ex-wrestler as well as a TV and movie star. He's recently been getting quite a bit of notoriety and money from his Peacemaker role through DC. He has done several family and kid-friendly movies in the past that have varied in quality. And again, let's just say what it is. He's not a overtly great actor. I think he does have his moments in certain roles, which definitely makes him popular not only in wrestling, but also in movies as well. And I think it's definitely something worth noting as far as him as either a person or him as his success as being a actor slash wrestler performer. He definitely is very successful. So in his particular life, he is a millionaire. He's worth roughly about $60 million. He lives in a very luxurious house, and he was until relatively recently dating Nikki Bella, who is pictured here on the right. Nikki Bella is also a ex-wrestler. She has a twin sister that looks, for the most part, just like her. She was engaged, or the two were dating in a somewhat serious relationship with each other. She had sold her house for, I believe, 1.25 million, and she ended up moving in with John Cena. Now, where it actually got in particularly difficult, or where this conversation got difficult, and again, we're just going to look at the facts. The moment that she was meant to move in, he passed her a somewhat similar to a prenuptial agreement, a cohabitation contract. And basically, within this contract, it was a 75-page document. It had certain things that she needed to agree upon before even moving into his house. And I know that had stirred up quite a bit of controversy just out the gate, as far as him issuing her that 75-page prenup or 75-page cohabitation contract prior to both of them living together. Now, I did look up to see what states they were in. One was in Florida, and I believe the other one was located up in the northwestern area of the United States. Both of those states do not have cohabitation laws, meaning if you live with your partner for X amount of days or months, then under the government you are considered married. You're allowed to live with each other without bearing any sort of legal responsibility as far as it be considering a common law marriage. As far as the cohabitation document, I do have some of the information, but there is a lot of information left out. The document first off had mentioned that Nikki Bella was actually a guest at his house. He was not supporting her. She was a guest, meaning if they were ever to break up in the future, she would actually have to pack up her things and leave. She couldn't claim squatters' rights. She couldn't claim herself being a dependent of John Cena, which in some ways is actually very smart, but again, we try to stay exceptionally neutral on this. So both of them were actually fairly successful, him being more successful than her. And again, this is just going off of the monetary value. They both have a considerable following. I know John Cena on his own has quite a bit of a following on Instagram as well as other platforms. And if we just take a look at this picture of Nikki Bella right here, she's very attractive. And one of the things that she was recently going through with was she has a twin sister, by the way. She has a twin sister, and it is a identical twin sister who recently had a child within the last few years, and she was getting to the point, since she's actually considerably up there herself as far as performing wrestlers go. She's still very young. However, for performing wrestlers usually retire, especially the women, when they get to their late 30s, early 40s range. And the main reason why most wrestlers in general retire about this age is, again, you're performing stunts and different types of combative entertainment, and the likelihood that you're going to get hurt becomes greater, as well as the recuperation time that's needed. And most of these wrestlers are performing every week. So her being a wrestler, getting up in age for a wrestler, and she actually suffered a neck injury, if I recall correctly, to where she was wearing the neck brace, and her doctor basically told her that she was going to be permanently sitting the bench. So, if we compare just apples for apples, she was living in a $1.25 million house. She was one of the more popular, more popular female wrestlers that were out there. Again, she's very beautiful. And of course, we have John Cena, who is not only a wrestler but also a movie star. So he's considerably, famous, has a following as well. He's worth 60 million. She is in the lower range of being a millionaire right now. So just comparing between the two, he has more to lose. He has also been married before, and he actually suffered a pretty nasty marriage, which is why he kind of started pushing forward this whole cohabitation contract to begin with. And I think one of the things that I think was a mistake on John Cena's end, which we will bring up later, is he dropped this contract directly in Nikki Bella's face, I believe, either the day of or the day she finished moving stuff into his home. She hadn't even gotten unpacked yet, and he was like, yes, by the way, I need you to sign this contract. This part was actually on TV when they were discussing it. It ended up being a very heated conversation between the two. She ended up calling him fairly selfish about it. He said that because their relationship, as far as moving forward, he didn't want to turn a beautiful moment in their relationship into a business portion of a distraction as far as the business portion. And the two of them were sitting down at the table, and he said, this is what this is business. He began to explain that he's the oldest of, I believe, 5 children. He's taking care of his parents as well as one of his, I believe, younger brothers who's recently getting married. And one of his other brothers actually has some health issues, which is why the 5 of them are living in a separate home. And he was making this a requirement for Nikki Bella to make sure that he could still continue to support his family. And I think that part is actually very honorable, making sure that you're taking care of those closest within your circle. Nikki Bella in general, again, they were in what I would consider a serious relationship, since, again, she was moving in with him. And as you're starting to bring in new people into your circle, it's very important to not only protect those that have already been vetted, and again, he's determined that his family is worth taking care of, which is why he does it. However, as you begin to bring new people into your circle, then it's important to take steps to make sure that the ones that you've already vetted are taken care of. So we're going to take just a 5-second break. I'm going to open up my drink here. I want to just take a small sip right here real quick. Sorry about that. So, in regards to their relationship, again, the first thing that she had to sign as far as the 75-page cohabitation contract was that she was a guest. There were other things that definitely, some of them made sense, others did not. But we're going to take a look at some of the highlights that we were able to discover from this. If we take a look, one of the biggest things that he had noted was he definitely came from very humble beginnings, and offhand he lives in a $1 million home, considering he's worth $60 million himself. He lives in a $1 million home. I believe it has its own smoking room. It has a very long driveway, lots of houses, lots of bathrooms. It has a huge kitchen, dining room, Bruce Wayne style dining room where it can seat up to, maybe 12 people comfortably. And in this particular instance, some of the restrictions or requirements that he required, not only Nikki Bella, but some of the other guests, they were required not only to have breakfast together, but also to have a formal, excuse me, a formal dining activity together, to where they dressed up in suits and ties. The ladies would wear fancy dresses, from tie to shoes and everything. Women would be wearing heels. They would sit down once a week and have a very fancy meal. And I think this is actually very notable. Again, from John Cena, from what we know and what we just briefly discussed, family is very important to him. So whether it's his direct family or his closest friends that he considered family, he definitely wants to have those formal engagements, not only because he's living the lifestyle of a millionaire, but he also wants to have those formal gatherings, especially if he's not going out, they're just sitting at home having a meal. It becomes one of those special moments that he wants to enjoy with his girlfriend at the time, as well as his best friend and his best friend's girlfriend. There were some other rules that he had noted in the contract. One of them was Nikki Bella wasn't allowed to have pets within the home. There was actually a episode within, I believe it was Nikki Bella's reality TV show, where they were filming inside of his mansion, and the reality TV people had to respect his time and his privacy. So if he didn't want to be on camera, they were not allowed to record him at all. That was in the contract. The other part of the contract that was in there that was interesting is she was actually not allowed to have pets, and he was more concerned about dogs or cats destroying his home, which is very understandable. He said he's very much in love with dogs. However, he just doesn't have the time to be able to commit to them. Which leads us to a segue, a more important segue, that John Cena did not want to have kids, and he actually stated that in the contract. So here's a picture of Nikki Bella, again, very attractive woman. And here is a picture of both of them, John Cena without his Peacemaker costume and then the picture of her. I think they looked a very nice couple together. However, the undertones of why it didn't go forward is definitely very interesting. And again, I had mentioned that Nikki Bella's twin sister actually had recently gotten pregnant, and she had her child, and that's when Nikki Bella started to have feelings and desires to have children of their own. However, in the contract that John Cena had mentioned, or John Cena, yeah, in the contract that John Cena had issued to her was they were not going to have children. Now, having some experience in contract negotiation, as far as the business people, you can technically have whatever you want in any contract. The only problem is whether or not any court will actually hold it up. So, from the contract negotiation portion, depending upon which realm that you're discussing with, shout out to the lead attorney. With prenuptial agreements, obviously it will vary depending upon which state that you're in. However, when it comes to actual business, there's usually lots of people in the room depending upon the incident that's at hand. You may have the two clients, they may or may not be present, and then you'll have the actual negotiators in order to keep the clients separate, and then you'll have the lawyers, which will either give you advice on what is legally binding or what can be asked for. I'd be curious to see how specifically John Cena was able to ask Nikki Bella not to get pregnant and how that could be written into a contract. Whether, and again, this is not my area of specialty because I'm not a lawyer. I'm usually the person that negotiates the needs of the client. And if the client isn't available, then it's helpful to either have that individual or a mediary, someone who stays neutral and is able to not only say what is considered fair, but it is the lawyer's position not only to see or to argue what is actually in fact the law for the state, but the only things that I can really guess that could have been in the contract without being a lawyer, and again, we don't know what state this contract was written in, was whether or not if she did get pregnant, if she was going to relinquish her rights to the child, and that could possibly been what leveraged her not to get pregnant. And I know that sounds really bad, and again, this is just pure speculation. I don't know if the court in fact can hold a contract as far as if two people dating were to sign a contract and in the contract rights, whether or not her rights would be relinquished to John Cena, and then that was the leverage as far as her not wanting to get pregnant during their relationship. I would really be interested to see if that in fact could be the case. I would have to tag either the lead attorney, shout out to the lead attorney, or Suzette Speaks, since this is more so their realm as far as what can be upheld to a court of law. And again, my expertise is a little bit different, so I'm just going to state what we do know, and there's quite a bit that we don't know. But she wanted kids, he did not. The relationship kind of went sour and fell apart at that point, and then they basically broke up. They made a public announcement in regards to that. They said that they broke up on good terms, which I highly doubt, but it still could be very possible. I think she really did want to have children, especially feeling either the peer pressure of seeing her sister have children and her in fact wanting children of her own. And also, since she's starting to get older herself, she's 36, and in order to make sure that she has a safe and successful pregnancy, it's most likely to better to have children sooner rather than later. So it is a very interesting development between the two. What makes it even more interesting is after the two broke up, John Cena actually got married, believe it or not, with another woman who's actually considerably younger than Nikki Bella. So John Cena gets married to Shay Sharitzadin. I'm sorry for butchering that name. Uh, let's see if I can find a picture of her. The two of them were dating for roughly about 18 months. John Cena had stated that he initially did not want to get married when they first started dating. However, he did end up marrying her. And she's very pretty. Let's see if I can get this picture pulled up here. Yeah, this picture is good. One, two. And this is a nice picture of them. She's a very attractive woman. I think they're both her and Nikki are very attractive. Honestly, this woman, well, we won't go there. So, um, she was born 1989. She's currently 33 years old. She's from Iran. And what caused the question is what caused John Cena to specifically marry this woman, and they dated in a even shorter amount of time than he was with Nikki Bella. However, he ended up marrying this woman. Would you say that it was just right place at the right time? Would you say that specifically maybe John Cena had a change of heart after the relationship went sour with Nikki Bella and he was able to make it work out? Or what do you think specifically, was it a specific characteristic that she brought to the table that Nikki did not? What was Shay contributing to the relationship that was different than Nikki, that made John Cena want to marry her within 18 months? And again, John Cena is already in his 40s. He's currently 44, born in 1977. He's definitely, I would say, for women who do like John Cena, he doesn't really have the look that I would expect most women, like as far as the features that he does have is definitely a Chad feature. He has a very strong chin. He has the very pronounced facial features, and he is very popular. If we take a look at, the Peacemaker, he has a lot of following going on for himself right now. But what specifically did she do, or did she say, or do you think it's just he met his soulmate and everything was right in the world, the stars aligned, and it just happened to work out? I'm really curious to see what everyone's thoughts were. And again, I don't have anything personally against Nikki Bella. I remember back in the day I was a huge wrestling fan. I've been considerably busy since, I really sat down and started watching it. And I think I think it's definitely entertaining. It definitely has a following of its own. It's very similar. Right? It's one of those niches of you either love wrestling or you hate wrestling. There's very few people that watch wrestling avidly watch wrestling that just think wrestling is meh. If you think wrestling is meh, I wouldn't expect you to watch wrestling. But there's definitely something about the atmosphere. It's just like any other sport. And I know there are some people out there that do hate on wrestling, and that's fine. I think it's one of those things, it's just like NASCAR or Indy 500. The experience of actually being there when the crowd is shouting for whoever they're supporting, being there when the cars are racing around and hearing the loud engines, you really get submerged into what's really going on. And I think that's one of the really underlining things about wrestling in general that I think does stand true. It may occasionally be corny. Maybe some of the people they have on there, they just can't straight up wrestle at all. But more than anything, it's basically just entertainment, just like anything else. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of the hard fans appreciate is the energy that either the wrestlers bring to the ring or the energy that's in the crowd of the people who are supporting the wrestlers in the ring. So I'd be very curious to see how the two of these individuals, their relationship develops. Again, hopefully it works out for them. I wish them both the best. But I think there's something more to be said than just straight up happenstance that a millionaire would be dating another woman. Of course, gave her the 75-page cohabitation prenup contract, even though they weren't planning on getting married. It was just a straight cohabitation contract. They were living together for roughly 6 or 7 years, and then from there, the relationship just kind of dissolved. And then when they were split, John Cena finds a new interest, which is Shay right here, who I think she's beautiful, to be honest with you. I think she definitely has a nice smile, and I think that's one of the things that most men can appreciate is if you're looking into the eyes of your partner, if they either have beautiful eyes or a beautiful smile, even on those days that you're tired, I believe a real man can appreciate a gorgeous smile, especially if it's a sincere one at him. So let me know your thoughts in the comments as far as what you think in regards to this whole scenario between John Cena, Nikki Bella, and his new wife. I appreciate all my subscribers. I've been working on different types of content, and we will be back to our normal schedule. We have the Battle for the Manosphere series that it will be starting back up next week. We have there were a couple other videos that I know I've been sitting on just because I was kind of curious to see what everyone's response was going to be regards to it, but I think that I kind of have a general idea of the type of content that I do want to create, and I just want to say thank you for everyone who subscribed to the channel. Feel free to leave a like on any of the videos I create, that way I know what type of content you consistently want to watch, and I will begin to focus more on that particular content. But I think we have something good going for us right now. I hope everyone is having a wonderful week. This is your last call for insight, and we are out.